All right, good morning, afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. Thanks so much for joining us on another beautiful, beautiful day for our November 2020 Coffee and CEU event from the DVA SIG. Before we get to our main event, and boy, do we have a treat for everyone today. I just have those housekeeping items. So this event is being recorded and it's going to be uploaded into our DVA page after the event. If you are here for CEUs, please make sure to stay in this entire event. We're going to be monitoring the attendance throughout the presentation. After the presentation, a short survey is going to be sent out that has some questions on the information from today. Just make sure to fill that out, and that's how we're going to be able to send you your 1 BACB Type 2 Ethics CE. And since we are monitoring the attendance, if you could please help and just make sure that your full name is displayed on the Zoom little profile thing, just so that we know who you are. And if you're logging in through a phone, please email us at disseminateaba@gmail.com with the phone number used, your full name and your email. And don't worry, I will chat that. And also, just to limit any background noise, if you can, please mute yourself. It's going to help everyone just have a better experience. But of course, as always, chat box is king. So please make sure you can use the chat to ask any and all questions that you have for our presenter. And it might be more fun if you don't have your cameras on. If you want to turn them on, it's always great to see people's faces, but no pressure at all, of course. And lastly, our fundraiser is still on, and all of our proceeds from that fundraiser go directly to our dissemination grant. So you can get some cool swag. So if you have been to a recent event, you know I always have my favorite DBA mug and my cozy baseball tee on. It makes me so happy. And so if you want to be as happy as I am, go ahead and I will link our store in the chat, so you can go ahead and check that out. And so now I think you're probably tired of listening to me ramble on about all of this housekeeping stuff. So let's move on to why you're actually here. So I get the amazing honor of passing you on to Crystal Rollins for her presentation with Autism and Law Enforcement. So they're all yours, Crystal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So I'm really excited to be here. So what I did is I actually took the presentation that I share with law enforcement here on Maui, and then I just put in a couple extra slides to make it CEU worthy and directed more towards providers. So some of the stuff I'm going to glaze over because it'll be hopefully a review for any of the behavior analysts in here. And then some areas we might want to dive a little bit more in when we talk about how we can come up with some systematic change. So I'll be keeping an eye on the chat group too. So if you have any questions or comments, you can just put them in there. Okay, so autism and law enforcement. Introduction about me. I'm board certified behavior analyst. I'm a veteran, mom, owner of Kuleana Care. And I'm also an ACE provider, and I like to focus on acceptance and commitment therapy, as many of us are interested in. So normally what I will do at this point is I talk about the effects of mindfulness and how successful it is. So in a 2018 study, specifically with law enforcement, it showed promising results at reducing long-term health risks, including stress and sleep problems. So I encourage all officers to engage in some sort of mindfulness. I introduced the hexaflex a little bit, but you know, while we're doing this part, I mostly focus on values and present moment. So I would invite everybody right now to start with a present moment exercise, and I do this with the officers too. They're probably a little bit more uncomfortable with it than you guys might be. Let's see, so this is gonna open up and it's gonna be kind of weird. Okay, let's see. So this is just a 2-minute, sorry, I know my screen's showing up weird, 2-minute exercise on headspace.
So sitting comfortably, just beginning with a nice big deep breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. So eyes open, a soft focus. As you breathe out, you can allow the breath to return to its natural rhythm. But just keep the eyes open for a moment. Just focusing in on one particular object within your field of vision. Not staring at it too intently, still aware of the space around you. Peripheral vision. But just gently focusing on that one object. And then just slowly zooming back out again as you blink a few times with the eyes.
Okay. So I actually normally do a 2-minute one. That seemed like it was just a 1-minute one, but no worries. So the area that I get into next is values. So values are what truly is important to us. They help us make choices based on the direction we want our lives to go. So as behaviorists, we can define values as rules summarizing action that leads to powerful delayed reinforcers. So an example would be valuing health, so you eat right now for a healthy, fit body later on as you age. So I imagine many of you as providers and many of the law enforcement that we'll be sharing this with value helping other people. And one of my personal values is fairness. So I reached out to Maui Police Department to offer the training because statistically the children that I love and work with every day are at risk. Our children on the spectrum are 7 times as likely as their typical peers to have an encounter with law enforcement by the time they turn 18. And only 10% of them say that it is a positive encounter. So focusing on the right side of this hexaplex, we have committed action, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about. Let's get into it.
Police officer shot and wounded an unarmed black man this week.
At his side, a 23-year-old autistic man.
The cop fired 3 times.
The officer meant to hit the autistic man, believing he was a threat.
Stop walking away from me.
The officer mistook Connor's mannerisms for drug-related behavior.
He has autism. He doesn't know it's
Severely autistic. If the officer understood, none of this would have likely happened.
So a lot of the videos that I'm going to show today are a little disturbing. They're upsetting, and they're meant to get a reaction because it's a really tough situation that we're dealing with. And my business's name is Kuleana Care, which translated in Hawaiian roughly means one's personal sense of responsibility. I believe it's my Kuleana to share this knowledge with you. I believe it's everyone's Kuleana to do better. By age 25, 20% of people with autism have been stopped and questioned by law enforcement. 5% of these encounters result in an arrest. Only 13% of their caregivers report that it's a positive experience. And significantly less adults on the spectrum report a positive experience.
Police officers.
So these are the objectives for us as providers. We're going to identify and prioritize socially significant behavior change goals. So for both us and our law enforcement communities, we're going to define and provide examples of role-governed and contingency-shaped behaviors. And we're going to use procedures to promote maintenance because we know that one class, one time is certainly not going to be enough to change anybody's behavior. We hear a lot of bad stories about law enforcement interactions with our kids, but the truth is our clients are more likely to be killed by their own parents or caregivers than law enforcement officers. So it's in our best interest as providers to form partnerships and provide training to law enforcement because they could literally be a lifeline for our clients. So my objectives for the law enforcement officers that I share this with is I'd like them to walk away with knowledge on what autism spectrum disorder is and signs and symptoms, identify the 3 biggest dangers surrounding those with ASD and how to help, and identify ways that police officers and those with autism can collaborate to form a safer Maui community or whatever community you're in, and that would be the committed action that we talked about earlier. So again, some of this is going to be pretty much a review, but I will go over it similarly the way that I do with the law enforcement officers. So autism is America's fastest growing disability. It affects 1 in every 54 children. There's no physical signs, and it's called autism spectrum disorder because there's a wide array of behaviors and needs. And I like to stop at this point and ask the officers, how many people know somebody with autism? And chances are everybody's able to raise their hand. And when I was speaking with our officers, I asked, well, how much training have you had with autism? And one of the officers said, well, we get like hundreds of hours a year on DUI, but we've never actually had a training on autism or special needs. And another officer that I talked to, he said, oh, well, we were just taught to treat people with intellectual disabilities the same that you would treat somebody on drugs. So that's really disturbing to me and needs to change.
What is autism? Autism spectrum disorders are increasing at an alarming rate across the country and around the world.
Autism is a neurodevelopmental disability. So that means it's neuro, involves the brain, and developmental means that it starts very early in life when the brain is still forming, still plastic, still changeable. And it involves differences and usually difficulties in 3 areas: social interaction, communication, and then the presence of narrow, repetitive behaviors, difficulty with change.
Dr. Gary Mesibov is the director of Division Teach at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Teach is known globally for its pioneering approaches to service, treatment, training, research, and the education of individuals with autism.
The distribution usually is found more frequently in males than females, usually a 4-to-1 ratio. But there's a really wide range in terms of intellectual ability. We have people with autism with IQs below 25. We have people with IQs above 150. Also, there's emotional lability that very often goes with autism. So their emotions can change very quickly. They can become upset, scared, anxious very, very quickly. Or 1 minute be very anxious and then calm down quickly, or vice versa. There are other things, other associated behaviors that you see very frequently. But I think if you spend a little time around people with autism and around somebody who understands autism, I think you can get a basic handle on some of these patterns.
Okay. So how are officers going to know it's autism? Well, and so these are law enforcement terms that we're using: disclosure or discovery, right? So visual or verbal, you can ask the person. You can look for medical alerts, ask people around them. They might make direct or indirect phrases such as, I'm an Aspie, he has Asperger's, she's stimming. They're not all there, which is something we're going to hear in a later video. And this brought up a really interesting point because when I was working with the teens at our center, it turns out many of them didn't identify as autistic. They didn't know that they had autism. So I think as providers, that's something that we can do immediately with parents' permission if they're underage, but start that conversation. Let them know this is what autism is. This is why certain things might be more difficult for you, and let them know the importance of disclosing it, because that's really going to make a difference if they have an encounter with law enforcement, because otherwise signs and symptoms that our kids engage in, such as the stimming and the eye contact, might look really suspicious to an officer. So why is this important? Well, obviously it's going to increase officer and community safety. if the officer knows that the person has an intellectual disability, then they're going to feel more comfortable and they're going to put just a little bit more time into that case instead of just reacting with, you know, what they're taught in their training. It's going to make the best use of valuable time and resources in the police department, and it's the best way to avoid litigation. There are a lot of lawsuits pending and that have gone on in the past regarding law enforcement mishandling cases of children or adults on the spectrum. Here's another video that I like to show.
What are you doing? Good. What are you doing?
I'm stimming.
What?
How you doing with this?
What is that? Stop walking away from me.
It's a string.
Okay, so why are you bouncing around all over? You have any ID on you?
No.
Don't go anywhere. All right, just relax. Are you okay? I'm okay. I'm okay. Stay down.
So in this particular clip, the teen was able to divulge. He said, "I'm stimming, I'm just playing with string." Unfortunately, the officers weren't aware of what that means and continued to detain him.
What are you doing?
And this is the result. He broke his ankle because of this. So it was determined that in this particular case, they had reasonable grounds to move forward because the officer had no prior training with special needs. He did not decrease his level of force when he was told the child had autism, and he didn't have any grounds to detain the child in the first place. So if you're not outraged by the way this officer treated this teenager, you should be. Okay, so what does autism look and sound like? As we know as providers, it is quite the spectrum. So we have less independent individuals that might need a caregiver, they might not be verbal, and they might engage in severe problem behaviors. More independent may just appear socially awkward, they might be able to do many activities of daily living alone, have a job, have a wife. It's very hard to tell sometimes. Okay, so I really like to cite this study because this was a study done with adults on the spectrum. And the adult participants reported these as the characteristics that they feel they engage in that might stand out most in interactions with law enforcement. So restricted repetitive behaviors and interests, social communication deficits, existing in their own world, feeling withdrawn, and experiencing sensory sensitivities. So this is, you know, straight from their own mouth and their own experiences. So this is kind of where I pull what we would like to see the officers do differently. So again, their communication might be nonverbal. They might have limited communication skills. They might not be able to respond to questions or commands. We might see them repeating what you say or engaging in repetitive words or sounds that might not make sense. They might have trouble with volume or tone of voice. Behavior, they might engage in the stimming with hands or objects, have difficulty making eye contact. They might mimic behaviors or postures that they're seeing, be sensitive to extra stimuli, including the lights and sirens, and we might see them engage in self-interest or elopement behavior if anxious. So now that the officers have identified a individual that they believe might be on the spectrum, then it's time for them to assess the environment with them in mind. So I asked the officers to look around and see, you know, observe what they hear, what they see, what they smell, and then think about how that might affect the individual that they're working with. So if they need to be aware of the sensory environment. If they're not able to change it due to wherever you're with them, they can guide the person to a new environment if it's safe. And I always like to stress to them too that officer safety is the number one thing, because that's really important, and they do have a dangerous job, and due to their learning history, it's not always safe for them to make these accommodations.
People with autism may be attracted to shiny objects and actually reach for your badge, radio, keys, belt buckle, or weapon. Be alert to sensory overload. Your sirens and lights may cause further anxiety and increase a negative reaction from the child or adult who has autism. Make sure the person is unarmed and maintain a safe distance, because they may suddenly invade your personal space.
We try to de-escalate the situation by moving people away from the crowds, away from the noise, and try to calm things down a bit. Because even though I'm confident in my abilities and the abilities of the officers that I work with, and we always know that when we go hands-on with somebody, it's a dangerous situation. We know that there's at least one firearm involved in the situation, is the one that I'm carrying. And a lot of officers get killed every year by their own firearms, by wrestling with somebody, and their gun gets out of the holster. So we are very aware of that, and we try to avoid those situations at all times.
People.
So I do have little business cards that I made, and it just kind of, I realize it shows the same side twice. Each side is actually a little bit different, but I hand these out to law enforcement officers during our training, or if I just see them on the street. So the first half, which is not shown, is actually just kind of an overview of what we've done so far. So how the communication and behavior might be different. And then this is really more into if you actually have to detain an individual or move into a criminal justice situation. I also have my contact information in case they have any questions or they're in a situation where they feel like they need some extra support. And actually my mentor who I worked with, Dennis DeBalt, he is the one who came up with these videos. He's an autism dad and a former law enforcement officer based in Florida. He informed me that Florida is the only state that actually allows professionals into the questioning room if they suspect that somebody has an intellectual disability or autism. They can actually have like a BCBA or another professional act as like an interpreter. So I think that's really cool, and that's something I would love to see in more places. So I volunteer that service. I have not been taken up on it yet, but so some more responder tips that we have.
Sir, you said he was autistic. How do you know he's autistic?
He's a neighbor kid.
What's your name? Can you tell me your name? Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. We're here to help you. Where do you live? Can you show me your house? Can you take me there? Can you write it for me? It's okay. I won't touch you. Don't worry, I won't touch you. It's okay. Hey, is that a medical alert bracelet on your wrist there? Can I see that? Oh, it has your name on it. Don't worry, honey. It's okay. I won't touch you. I promise. I won't touch you. Why don't we come over here? Come on over here, honey, with me, and let's get into a quieter area, okay? Come on. Come walk with me. It's okay. Does he live with his parents, or is there somebody we can call and contact to come get him? Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you. We're here to help you.
So I see Chelsea asked where these videos are from. All of these are from Dennis's company. I think it's autismriskmanagement.com. I have it in my sources at the end. He is wonderful. In order to use them, you do need to like purchase the rights to them. I think it was $400 or $500 for his complete video collection. I think it's well worth it. I also have a separate training that I'm working on for firefighters and for emergency responders like EMS. So he gives you the complete videos, he gives you the clips already broken down, and he really just held my hand through the process for my first presentation. So called me before and after, and he's, yes, perfect, thanks. He's amazing, and he travels all over the United States. A lot of times when a lawsuit is involved, but he's an amazing person and trainer. And a lot of, in some of the videos, I should start pointing them out, but he's actually finding officers that have family members on the spectrum. So they might be a little bit more knowledgeable, but I think it's really great that he just included the autism community for this. Okay, so responder tips. These are the observable and measurable behaviors that law enforcement officers can engage in. So as long as the scene is safe, they should be investing time, as much time as it takes. They should seek information from the individual, caregivers, or others at the scene. Avoid stopping any of the repetitive or stimming behavior. They should be modeling the calm tone and body language. And if possible, turn off those lights and sirens. Okay. So at this point, I like to pause and ask the officers to share an experience that they might have had with somebody on the spectrum. And most likely it fell into one of these three categories. These are the highest risk contacts for our individuals on the spectrum. Okay. So as providers and a lot of us being behavior analysts, let's think about some examples of rule-governed or contingency-shaped behavior for domestic violence calls. These are the most dangerous types of calls for law enforcement officers. So what do you guys think? You can just put it in the chat box. What rules or contingencies do you think have shaped their current that should be their current response to these calls? Like, how are the officers going to act when they just get knowledge that it's a domestic violence call? Yeah, sure. They're going to be defensive, escalated, on high alert. Awesome. Yeah, the weapons might already be drawn. You guys are awesome. Yeah. And for their safety, they have to present this way. They might consider a suspect to be armed and dangerous. They're going to be defensive. Yeah, they already have backup on the way. Perfect. Yeah, a history of reinforcement for arriving on the defense and maintaining their own safety. Sure, it's worked for them in the past, right? That's why they're behaving in this way. Yes, so Veronica, absolutely. We talk about that a little bit more towards the end, and antecedent intervention absolutely would be the 911 call, dispatcher asking if anyone in the house has autism. Perfect. You guys are great. So now that we know that this is the highest level of, or the most dangerous type of call for law enforcement, we know that they're going to be activated, that they're going to come in with their defense up and ready to intervene if necessary. Okay, so this video is a little janky. Let's see. So in this case, actually, let me give you background information because I just had to switch out the video. So in this particular case, a 16-year-old ended up dying after being detained by a police officer. He was in the parking lot of laser tag. He loved laser tag and was throwing a tantrum when his dad told him it was time to leave. He's a big individual. So this is a video that a bystander took in a vehicle, kind of driving by, and you can see the size of him. You can see a little bit of how the officer intervened. So this would be, the officer was called to the scene for a domestic violence call for a fight in a parking lot. They didn't have any other information. You can't hear it in this video, but the parents were yelling, "Hey, stop, he has autism." But because of the way the officers were highly activated, and because of maybe their history of learning, they didn't stop, and it resulted in death. So that's his dad on top of him. And that's the officer still swinging even when the individual is down, and it just escalated from here. Yeah, it's very disturbing.
Crew members at the laser tag in Menry.
Okay, so then here is an example of a domestic violence call that might actually happen at the house. This is a longer clip, but I'm gonna kind of let it go because I think that it's important for us to kind of put ourselves in the officer's shoes and see like what they might think when they come into a house and they see it in this condition and they see a man of this size.
This is where he's put his head through the wall, and this is where he stood and kicked it. Ow, 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 He's 6'2" and he weighs 252 pounds. He can go through this house and just wipe everything out probably in 10 minutes. You know, I've had him turn furniture over. Well, you see all the windows and stuff. You know, the air conditioner back in the bedroom, he'll sit and punch that till it's in pieces. You know, in other words, if it breaks anymore, it's kind of like it's material. It can be replaced. I don't even let it bother me. But the destruction is just unbelievable. What are you so mad about? You got Santa Claus is coming to town.
Of all the fool things for them to do.
You got Santa Claus is coming to town. Don't do that. Owie. 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 He's part of the family, and you hate to give up on your child as a lost cause. But I've come to the conclusion now that the best thing would be to place him somewhere where they can control him and they're not going to hurt him. I'm afraid, though, if I do leave him at home, it'll be like that man that they took to one of those group homes or centers last weekend that got out of control and they tased him and he died of a heart attack. Yeah, you understand what's going through my head, why I'm not opposed to taking him and placing him somewhere, because this can't go on and other people could not control him like me. If you ask me, still a serious problem.
Yeah, I think that mom's really sweet too. I have a soft spot for her and for her situation, and I can only imagine the conundrum she's in where she wants to have a little bit of normalcy in her life, and she doesn't want to be her adult son's main caregiver all the time, but who can she trust to provide that support? Because we do hear often on the news about situations where it doesn't end up well. So that's my little spiel on domestic violence. Again, my biggest thing is if the officers just put a little bit of space, a little bit of time from when they either receive the call, from when they show up at the call, it's going to prevent them from going to their initial way of responding. If they can kind of scope out the scene and make sure that, or determine if the individual has a disability, then it might decrease their level of force and lower their defenses a bit. Okay, so another big contact that law enforcement will encounter with our clients is a suspicious person call. So this could be a misrepresentation of parental care, caregiver picking the child up, restraints or soothing methods by the caregiver. Dennis likes to tell a story about his son on the spectrum who would literally scream, "This isn't my dad," as he was having breakdowns in public places. And Dennis and his son were both detained by security, and he was showing his badge. He was like, no, I'm law enforcement. This is my son. He's on the spectrum. And this was, you know, in the early 90s. So it was much rarer then, but we don't know how our children or clients will react all the time. And so, of course, that's going to be suspicious to an outsider, either just an individual in the store or other law enforcement officers. So it's a story that he likes to share. Another suspicious person would be a person in an unknown area. You get calls about people acting suspicious, being in closed off or inappropriate areas. I know that recently in Maui, we had a friend of a friend who found a child on the spectrum walking around at night in a closed off construction area. We have lots of bodies of water. Many of our clients like to swim, and that's really what the officers in Maui said. They're like, well, we just were told that the individuals like going towards water, that if a person on the spectrum is missing, look near water. I'm trying to read your guys' chat. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. Dispatchers. So I get into that. I believe that all people should have training. I think dispatchers should have training. I think the law enforcement officers should have training. I think these are great ways that we can really change this system that we have. Perfect. Yeah, Becky, I agree too. And that's something that we talked about with the law enforcement officers here, is even just kind of trying to like put a pin in the system about like, I guess they have it right now in Maui for dementia patients. So they'll say somebody here is known to wander off. So they're like, well, why can't we do this for people on the spectrum? So I'm hoping that we kind of go towards that and it takes off. And then the last suspicious person call would also be a retail location saying that somebody is maybe acting strange or they're worried that they might be shoplifting. Okay, so for this video, what we're gonna do, and I have two videos, it's the same one. I'd like you guys to watch this, and I have the officers do this as well. And just take note on anything that we think the officers did positively, any things that could be worked on, and then we're gonna kind of dissect the video.
Corey, so you can fire. How may I help you?
Yes, I need the police.
Tell me exactly what's happening, sir.
Yeah, there's this man. He's pacing back in front of my house. He's on the sidewalk in front of my house. He keeps pacing back and forth, and he's acting really suspicious.
I do have police on the way over there.
He's been out here for a few minutes now. I mean, I just noticed him a few minutes ago, and he's not leaving. He's just walking back and forth.
And I do have help on the way. We should be there momentarily.
Hello. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
And this is you.
I'm Officer Soto with the Coral Gables Police Department.
Yes.
Are you okay?
Okay, yes.
Okay. What are you doing here?
Ma'am.
Sir? Sir, can you see me? What's your name?
How are you, sir? Yes. How are you?
Are you feeling a little bit nervous right now? Where are you going? It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to sit right here, okay? What is your name?
Yes. Yes.
What's your name?
My yes.
Do you know your name?
Jane Soda.
Yeah, that's my name. Look, my name is Jay Soto. Do you?
Yes.
What's your name?
Mayu. Yes.
Mayu?
Yes.
Maya, do you have ID with you?
Yes.
You have ID? Can I see that?
Big.
You want us to hold that for you?
Want me to hold it for you? That way you're not holding it? He's gonna get his ID.
Need some help? Want me to hold that? Perfect. Oh, there it is. Matthew.
Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Nice to meet you, Matt. Do you know where your parents are, Matthew?
Yes.
Where are they?
Mayu.
Ah, okay.
Maybe ask dispatch and see if he's a missing person or if someone's. Yeah. Matthew, are you okay? Do you feel sick, Matthew?
Yes.
You feel sick? What do you feel? Do you know?
Yes.
Matthew, do you want to sit down?
Yes.
Okay, let's sit down. Let's sit down right here, okay? Can you sit or no? Okay, we'll stay right there, okay? Okay. What do you got there? Okay, your iPad. They come back with anything? Matthew, do you have a card that helps me with what's going on with you? You do? Can I see that?
Is it in your wallet?
Is it in your wallet too? Can I see your card?
Matthew, do you have autism?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Is there somebody we can call or something we can see to try to help you out today?
Yes.
Who can we call for you, Matthew?
Yes.
Yeah?
Please.
Okay, Matthew, we're gonna try to call somebody for you, but we need to know who can we call?
Mason, can I see your wallet real quick? Thank you, Matthew. Oh, here it is. It's your membership card for the Over 21 Club. Right here. That's a club for people with autism, right? Yeah? Perfect. Hold your wallet for me. I'm going to see if I can call somebody for you real quick, okay?
You can put your wallet back there in your pocket, okay?
Matthew, is this phone number for your parents? The phone number on this card?
Yes.
It is?
For me.
Okay, let me call them real quick, all right, Matthew?
For me.
I can't hear you. What'd you say, Matthew?
Yes.
We're gonna call somebody for you,
Sure.
okay? What is that?
Yes. So me Manchester. Yes. Oh. Oh.
Hey, Matthew. Hey, I talked to your parents, okay? They're
Yes.
going to come and pick you up. Is that all right?
Yes.
Do you want to stay with us until your
Yeah,
parents get
yes.
here?
Cool. So you guys were putting some really great comments in the chat box. I think they're being super respectful. They were clearly stating questions. Yeah, I love the sound of the Over 21 Club for autism. We don't have something like that on Maui yet. But I also really loved Matt, how she said, oh, he's reaching for his ID. I'm not sure if this is staged or natural. This is another video that I got from Dennis. He's really a gold mine of resources. Yeah, their patients. They ended up calling his parents. Yeah, sure, Renee. I also think that he's been primed by his parents for this situation, but what if he doesn't have an ID or a phone number? So as providers, that's something we should be keeping in mind. What should we be teaching our clients and also their parents? They gave him space. It was great. Did anybody notice anything that they think could have been handled differently by the officers? Any criticisms? Yes. Waiting longer between responses, a little fast on the questions. Yes. Both people approaching could have been alarming, sure. Female officer asked if he was sick and he said yes. I think that he was just kind of saying yes to a lot of her questions. Yeah, scripting, maybe some visuals would be great. I think that would actually be an excellent intervention that we could get the law enforcement on board with, having like a picture board or something that they carry around. Yes, no questions, even though we couldn't reliably answer. Cool. So we're going to watch kind of the same video again, and it's going to give some critiques. And yeah, a picture board would have been great. Okay.
I'm Officer Soto with the Coral Gables Police Department.
Yes.
Are you okay?
Okay, yes.
Okay. What are you doing here?
Ma'am.
Sir? Sir, can you see me? What's your name?
How are you, sir? How are you?
Are you feeling a little bit nervous right now? Where are you going? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna sit right here, okay? What is your name? What is your name?
Teacher, yes. Yes.
What's your name?
My colleague, yes.
Do you know your name?
Jane Soda.
Yeah, that's my name. Look, my name is Jay Soto.
Soda.
Do you?
Yes. What's your name? Mayu. Yes. Mayu? Yes.
Maya, do you have ID with you?
Yes.
You have ID? Can I see that?
Big. You want us to hold that for you?
Want me to hold it for you? That way you're not holding it? He's gonna get his ID.
Need some help? Want me to hold that? Perfect. Oh, there it is. Matthew.
Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
It's nice to meet you, Matt. Do you know where your parents are, Matthew? Yes. Where are they? Ah, okay.
Maybe ask dispatch and see if he's a missing person or if someone's. Yeah. Matthew, are you okay? Do you feel sick, Matthew?
Yes.
You feel sick? What do you feel? Do you know?
Yes.
Matthew, do you want to sit down?
Yeah.
Okay, let's sit down. Let's sit down right here, okay? Can you sit or no? Okay, we'll stay right there, okay? Okay, what do you got there? Okay, your iPad. They come back with anything? Matthew, do you have a card that helps me with what's going on with you?
Yeah.
You do? Can I see that?
Is it in your wallet?
Is it in your wallet too? Can I see your card?
Matthew, do you have autism? Yes. You do? Yes. Is there somebody we can call or something we can see to try to help you out today? Yes. Who can we call for you, Matthew? Call. Yes. Yeah? Please.
Okay, Matthew, we're gonna try to call somebody for you, but we need to know who can we call?
Can I see your wallet real quick? Thank you, Matthew. Oh, here it is. It's your membership card for the Over 21 Club. Right here. That's a club for people with autism, right? Yeah? Perfect. Hold your wallet for me. I'm going to see if I can call somebody for you real quick, okay?
You can put your wallet back there in your pocket, okay?
Matthew, is this phone number for your parents? The phone number on this card? Yes. It is? Okay, let me call them real quick, all right, Matthew?
I can't hear you. What'd you say, Matthew?
Yes.
We're gonna call somebody for you,
Sure.
okay? What is that?
Yes. Yes. Oh. Oh. Hey, Matthew. Hey, I talked to your parents, okay? They're gonna come and pick you up. Is that all right?
Yes.
Do you want to stay with us until your parents get here?
Yes.
So we'll stay with you, Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew, we'll stay with Matthew.
Yes.
We're gonna stay with you until your parents get here, okay? Is that okay?
Yes.
Do you want to sit in the back of the police car until your parents get here?
Yes.
We can show you how the police car works. Is that okay?
Do you want to come to the police
Let's
car
go
on
take a
the
look.
seat?
I will show you how it works. Yeah.
Awesome. So I loved all of the feedback you guys had with this as well. They are being respectful. I do think the questions should have been more open-ended, considering he answered yes to every single question. As far as resolution, yeah, I think Matthew would have been vulnerable if he was left alone. I don't think they should have left him alone. Did he have to go in the police car? Probably not. But that's what they determined was best. And overall, if most officers responded in the way they did, I would be pretty proud. You guys have any more comments or questions on that video before we move on? Yeah, it would be overwhelming. They were afraid he'd leave or run away. And I mean, that would be, Matthew seemed like he had some delays, some significant delays. So if you called mom, I would wait until mom gets there. I would also probably be afraid he was going to leave or run away. So maybe that's why they decided to have him in the police car as well. And I liked how they framed it like, do you want to see our police car? Not, hey, you're going to go sit and wait in the police car. And I also thought it was a great antecedent intervention that he had his card ready in his wallet, and it was a chain wallet. They didn't force him. Awesome. Yeah. So overall, I think they handled it good. Just a little bit of tweaks. And this is one of my favorite videos to show and to really have the officers that I'm training pick apart other officers' behavior and acknowledge the things that they did right and maybe some of the stuff that could be worked on. Yeah, Jennifer, I think the iPad was in his hand the whole time. So as providers, I think we would maybe lean towards that could be a communication device, but they didn't go that route for some reason or didn't know about it. Okay, so the last contact that police officers are most likely to have with individuals on the spectrum would be wandering or search and rescue. So I actually was very much the squeaky wheel to Maui Police Department. I kept trying to offer this training to them, and they were kind of blowing me off a little bit. And it wasn't until we had a situation where during a hurricane, in the middle of the night with a babysitter, a nonverbal 5-year-old with autism wandered off and was missing overnight. And luckily that had a happy ending and he was found the next morning. He was unharmed. But after that, then the department really was like, oh, we need training. And so then they finally responded to my multiple attempts. So don't be discouraged if you don't hear from them after the first time or the 5th time, because it is really important. And after I gave the training, they also recognized the importance of it. And now we'll be offering training to every new Maui Police Department recruit. Okay, so search and rescue.
This is the army of SES crews which are about to resume their search for 14-year-old William Callahan on Mount Disappointment. He has spent a second night lost in freezing conditions. He is autistic, he is nonverbal. That is providing extra challenges for search crews. They've been playing Thomas the Tank Engine on loudspeakers, trying to entice him from wherever he might be hiding. Of course, these are very challenging conditions, and police admit it is a race against time to try and find young William.
Perfect. And I know we're getting close to ending the time, so we'll kind of go through this. Okay, so as far as cases in Hawaii or cases nationwide, over and over and over again, we're seeing this happen. We're seeing children, teens, adults on the spectrum go missing. And in Hawaii in particularly, These are two pretty significant cases. So this was little Caden, the one that they reached out to me about after, who was found after missing overnight. They found him down like 100-foot cliff or something crazy. And thank goodness he was unharmed. On Big Island, Benny has been missing and presumed dead. He has not been found. Okay, those are our three biggest contacts. The SWOT philosophy is, disclosure discovery is going to be one of the biggest and most effective ways that an officer will recognize the person has an autism diagnosis. It's also going to be their cue to ask them more questions and to adjust their response so they don't respond in the way that they would to a typical domestic violence call or fight in a parking lot or whatever it might be. Special tactics that should be considered: simplify communication, manage the sensory environment, and invest time. And wrapping it up here. So what can we do? Identify and prioritize socially significant behavior change goals. So for our clients and for law enforcement, I'm going to go through some of the ideas that I have, and then you guys can kind of chip into the chat. And I actually love some of the ideas that you guys have already been putting in. I love the idea of labeling iPads and AAC devices so people know what they are. Having a wallet on a chain, it's so simple, but what a great way to give our clients independence, but still make sure that they have all their belongings with them. Okay, so what can we do? I saw somebody talk about registries. Some states, some towns have them. It's not required. A lot of people don't. And that's something that I would really like to see. And MPD, they had said that they have kind of a flag in the system if somebody has dementia and tends to wander. So they talked about maybe flagging people with autism too, if they choose to identify. And teaching clients to self-identify, I think that is a huge step. And it really shocked me when we were running our teen group and I was like, hey, does anybody know what autism is? And our boys were like, oh, maybe, we've heard of it. Doesn't Temple Grandin have that? And nobody was able to self-identify. And these are 17-year-olds, 19-year-olds who just didn't know. So I think starting that conversation with clients and with their families early on, and now that's something that during any intake, I ask the parents, do they know that they have autism? Would you mind if we talked about it? This is why it's important. Having required and regular training for all emergency responders. So this is last video clip of the day. This is an example. Well, you'll see. Oh no, did it not play?
Police say a Young County dispatcher was told by the caller he was not all there.
There's a boy that always throws rocks into our yard from the backyard, but he's trying to mess with the dogs. I don't know if he looks like a grown man, but I don't know if he's all there.
But Graham authorities say that information was not passed on.
So in this case, the authorities weren't told, and they went into what they presumed was a breaking and entering case and ended up pulling weapons and really escalating a situation that shouldn't have been escalated. And it kind of, the blame got pushed around. They said, well, dispatchers didn't tell us. The dispatchers said, well, we don't know what not all there means, but this is why we should have required and regular training for everybody and not just one training. Yeah, they should be trained to ask different questions. And going back up, yeah, individuals might not want to be labeled with a diagnosis, and they might not want to register, but I think that, if we can get across that it really is for safety, or if they're higher functioning and they're able to make that decision, then that's great. But not all of my clients are able to do that. Sister, come. Yeah. Specific questions, great. And my last idea would be forming a community partnership. So we'd like to reshape the behaviors of these officers. We have events, meets and greets. We have officers that come to our center. We have a children's center as well as a teen center. We'll go to the teen center and play video games with the boys. I say boys because we have all boys right now at the teen center. But it helps the officers really get a different perspective of autism and see the full spectrum. And it also helps our clients have a better understanding of law enforcement and seeing them in a positive light. So I invite them to come to our center and, we host community events. All right, what else, guys? Yeah, specific questions would be great. Meet and greet, perfect. Yeah, so that's having them come see the car, and same with fire and EMS. This isn't just limited to law enforcement. And I'm sure many of you heard about, there was recently a house fire in California where a autism advocate and her autistic son both passed away in the fire. And I think that if we trained our kids on what to do in emergency situations, as well as train our emergency responders, I would like to think that we could see less sad stories like that. Fingerprint registry, that's amazing. Cool. So that's it, guys. Let's see. Was it questions? It's helping teach my clients. Yeah, so this is awesome. You guys were great. Thank you for being here. I loved hearing your feedback and your ideas. And I think this is something that is in all of our scope of practice. We are able to do parent trainings. We work with these students every day. Don't feel like you can't do this, because if not us, then who? Who's going to teach these guys? Who's going to change the world? Here's my citations. There's Dennis's website and a few of the articles. Yes, Chelsea, you can ask a question. Oh, either one.
Okay, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks so much for this. I actually happen to know someone who's good friends with the gentleman who made the videos. So thank you so much for sharing. I thought that they were great. And I also live in Florida. So I am happy to see the police officers are from here in South Florida, and then also agreeing with what you're saying about what Florida has. But yes, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. My question is, do you find it challenging, I don't know if I want to say to build rapport with police officers, but also to establish your credibility because your background is not in law enforcement per se, but you do have experience?
Ooh, so I like that question. That's actually why I feel like I put in I was a veteran. I think it maybe gave me a little bit of like street cred with the officers. But overall, I think that they're really, they were really responsive. They were really interested in it. I don't think it was hard necessarily to build a rapport. They were really into it. And, I kind of presented the invitation. I'd love for you guys to come to our center. And we had multiple people take us up on it. And so, and they're doing it in their own time. They're not, no one's forcing them to go. So I think that they're really interested, they're willing to learn. And then for us as providers, it's important to really stress, like, even though there's all these negative encounters that we see in the news, our kiddos are much more likely to be harmed by a caregiver or a loved one. And so by letting them know, like, if you can recognize this and be their lifeline, then you're helping save our kids too. And really, like, we all want to help people. We're all in it for the kids. So I think that, yeah, Alexa, they're training me as well too. Like I didn't know any of their terminology before. So like their SWOT philosophies, that was all learning curve for me, but it helps me put it into language that they understand better too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Let's see. Nicholas said, how would you recommend initiating de-escalation training at a local autism community center? What about funding? This has all been a labor of love. I was really hoping that this would lead into a paid position, but funding is not there for them. And, you know, maybe it will be eventually as they see more of the necessity, but this is really just my personal mission to change the world. And maybe we'll get there. So I don't have any resources for the program in Florida. That's just something Dennis told me about in passing. I can pass on his information, and then if anybody wants to reach out to me directly, I'll put my info in the chat. Because I also have, you know, I give them a folder of stuff as well. I give them like a values assessment so they can do a little bit more of the ACT stuff. I give them a quick fact sheet of autism, facts and figures, and then I give them those little cards that I handed out. So I can send you the fact sheet. I'm open to sending my presentation to you guys to use as a guide. It's just, you know, the videos can't be used without the rights from Dennis's company, Autism Risk Management. Yeah, so Danielle, I'm not sure about the Florida PD open to sharing how they allow it. Again, that's something Dennis just mentioned in passing, but I think it sounds like a great idea, and that's something that I'm going to do more research into. Close. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Okay, so we did go past the 11 minutes. I'm so sorry, y'all, but thank you so much for being here and staying. Crystal, just thank you so much for just taking the time and sharing all that you've been doing with the Maui Police Department. I think we all learned something fantastic today. And so, you know, all of our attendees, we will be sending you an email with a CEU survey. So if you do want CEUs, please fill that out. I will also be linking Crystal's information. So if you want to contact her directly, you can go ahead. Other than that, go enjoy your weekend. I hope everyone gets some rest and, you know, does great things.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye, everyone.